I do a little countdown in my head because the editing is going to go across this. So when the editing goes across, then I usually put editing that covers me. So yeah, I don't say anything. I let the editing play. And usually a couple of the videos recently I noticed they were, but it don't matter. Maybe it does a little bit, right? Let me turn this down. I keep getting all this stuff because this is recording. It is the 5th of November. And if you know me, we just did a video about remember the 5th of November. And we talked about the Guy Fawkes and the all that went with that. And we found out actually both sides were what? Not really for the people. It was actually two secret organizations, if I may say, England and the Vatican. They say these were Catholic activists. I believe they're sent from Rome. I know how that works. And you should too. But anyways, notice how, and it mirrors this. We got the red and the blue facing off today, and what was an election is really just electing that from the elect themselves, as we found out. This ain't about this. This is my starting because the day we're on, because we're gonna go. We just did Hermeticism, and it was a good one, and we're going to go into right now into deep. What are we going to deep, D-boy? We're gonna go into the depthness of the reality of esotericism today. Told you we're going to cover these stuff. We're going to get on Rosicrucians. I wrote down some other stuff that I was given. We're going to have some following shows. I noticed these shows that we had with Edgar Casey, which came out today. I did him. We're going to do Neuralink also. Elon. Rosicrucianism, right? I even have something else I'm going to do. Tao, right? Tao, occultism, Hermeticism, because it's all in Eastern occultism. We've been going over Western occultism. Even older is Eastern occultism, which we'll see really lines up with the West. They mirror each other, because when you get in truth, it's universal, right? When you get in dogma, it always excludes something, especially Christianity, Judaism, the Abrahamics, or these exclusivers. We're the only ones. We're the chosen people. We're the only right religion. We're the only right religion. Instead of the inclusionary, which is the connection to all, which comes with the occult meanings. Now, we know that we hear occult in the past, and it was like, oh, that's the devil. It's what you do with it. If you've seen the recent video, like Manly P. Hall, one day that blew up with watches. Manly P. Hall's blew up because maybe I got to do some more Manly P. Hall. If you remember the beginning, it says it's neither good or evil. It's the intentions you use it for. This aspect of truth is what you made it to be. What was your intention? Was your intention for the inclusion into rising to unity, or keeping division power in the physical realm? Using energies and frequencies and entities to lock up things. Put the genie in the bottle. The genie comes out, grants you 3 wishes, but he goes right back in the bottle because he's bound to the bottle. The genie, which we also know the genie would be is connected to the jinns. And the jinns would be the demons, or the daemons, or the diamonds. And when we go into Muslim, all right, and then in Sufi, in Muslims, there's a branch called Sufi, and guess what the Sufis are? Esoteric. They take nothing literal. So they're not out there thinking going to war is the answer, because all these religious wars. Notice, boy, they sure activated the war gods, didn't they? That's their entities they ride. It says, in God we trust, and you open a dollar bill, and it says, in God we trust, because the God is the Mooney, or the money. But I'm not off the cuff today. Let's get into that. But this is what I'm speaking is all. I'm giving you a slice of what esotericism is. It's a study It's putting things together through esoterica, which is esoteric, meaning it's the meaning for them that are in the club, that have found the knowledge, have found the hidden knowledge in the hidden places, right? As you breathe deep, you're bringing out a hermetic principle, which we just went over, right? Which was it cadence? Which one was it? Where anything that goes in must come out. Anything is above is below. Correspondence, is that the one that it was? I'm still getting the 7 laws ingrained in me, remembering my mind, so I kind of do that. But money is moony, which is the moon, which is water, right? This is esoteric. What's the meanings? And they're layered. It's just not one revelation and you go, oh, I got it, and that's it. That's not how it works. These revelations are layered, even dimensionally layered, in greater truth as you go through the layers. Notice that we always say, don't go down a rabbit hole. But the reality, the rabbit represents in esoterica, one of the meanings of it, the white rabbit. Notice, and any of you older folks who know a little bit about rock music from the late 60s knows there was a song by Jefferson Airplane before Starship, and it was called White Rabbit. And it was all to do the story of White Rabbit. When you read the song, you probably should decode it here. You're going to see White Rabbit's telling you some depth stuff, because the white rabbit represents the soul. Why is a white rabbit pulling out of the hat? That's what we won't get in today, but in the future, think about that. Think about that even with Neuralink on their side, because they can take meanings and make them mean something else. As we know, and we've taught here, the book of Revelations is not a Christian book. It was never, not part of them. It was adopted and put in. It's a very, very esoteric book, layered with symbols and signs that you have to know, astrology, numerology, and all that goes with it. And it's very Greek. Without the Christian fall, they added the Christian aspect of it in there. And then make it a playbook happened today. Remember the 5th of November, when they tried to blow up the English Parliament. Catholic Church tried to blow up the English Parliament because the king that was in control said, Catholic Church, you got to leave. We have the church. We're creating the Church of England, and that is our church. We don't have Rome in it no more, so it caused a beef. And I've said before, historically, that Rome didn't conquer Europe in one day. Didn't happen that way. Europe made a stand for a long time. Many groups from the Germans, from the German tribes, where we get God. The word God actually means German king or German chief, because it's the Germanic, comes from the Germanic tribes. This told you a truth, because everybody says God. God means German king, German chief. It's a god of that culture. It also means good, like good, because God and good is one word. You reverse engineer it, God is dog. Like we even showed you the Marilyn Manson song that we decoded, but this is not off the cuff, D-boy. But I'm giving you esoteric just to balance it out. And then now we're going to go into the share page, and we're going to share some stuff about this. Yes, indeed. Let's share. This share page here is so easy. I really appreciate it. Probably should get better equipped with it. And we'll start, before we start our little video, let's read about it. Y'all, let's get to it. You had me going off the cuff, but I was just trying to show you what esoterica is. It's the inner meaning of something that's outside, but the inner meaning of a story, of a truth, of why there was a flood and how did somebody cross the flood. It would be an esoteric meaning to somebody walking on water, because nobody can. You don't walk on water unless it's ice. And remember, you can fall through ice too, but you can walk on ice. So esoterica would be, what's that mean? And you would go, esoteric. What's esoteric about it? What's the hidden meaning? Oh, walking on water represents being able to stay above your emotional mind, not knocking you, not swallowing you and drowning you under, where your emotions are in power you and in control of you, because you can drown in them. Meaning, if you walk above your emotional mind's not your ruler, it's your follower, and it's beautiful. right? Emotions are beautiful. I mean, I'm a Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. I mean, in the last video when it showed the opposites, right, of truth, I love that. It was because that's what you see in the paradox, is what she was saying. But anyways, we're gonna get, so that's kind of what an esoteric meaning would be. Just kind of giving you that would be, it represents something more than what you're saying. It's a hidden meaning in the sentence or the story or the parable. The hidden meaning that applies to you, not that the vase is running over water. It's that the vase, being a person, could be filled with water, like that. Like walking above water would be walking above your emotional mind, and it doesn't make you drown or fall, or it swallows you up. That would be more, that's esoterica. So let's read it. The quality of being obscure, only intended to be understood by a small group of people with special knowledge, is often associated with mysticism, occult. These are all going together. Occultism, mysticism, all special. It says for special peoples, for special knowledge, because it's hidden. It's hidden even in the language. It's hidden in the story. It's hidden in the parable. I got a friend that's actually active Blackfoot Indian now, and he was talking to me about when he goes back home, where his tribe's from, that when he goes there, the elders, they have things of knowledge that they have and share in the tribe, in their history, that is still verbal. It's never been written down. It's only passed down verbally. It's only been passed down verbally. It's in the elders keep it and they pass it down to the next elders. It's not written down, so nobody can get it and glean it or steal it or somebody give it to the wrong hands. This knowledge is shared verbally, and it's only the pact. That would be hidden. That would be like a secret society. Here's what we have to learn and understand. What we know of secret societies in 2024, in the last so many years that you've been maybe even around what we're talking about and came into esoterica, most of us have never been through a mystery school. I mean, if somebody has, man, hi, man, I appreciate you. And those people in these other countries, India and Ireland and Russia, that have been here, man, thank you and join you. Anybody I haven't messaged from a smaller group, man, just come aboard. We're appreciating you. It's time. This is the thing, is all of us in the world are more in agreement and oneness with each other. We are not our government. Our governments are the ones that use wars and these discretions that do their, you know what I mean. But when I get out and see people, I don't care what color your skin, your race, I don't care. That doesn't mean anything. We're all living souls. I notice that we're all have more things in common, like 5 extremities, 5 extremities. I'll give you an example, some more esoterica. 5 extremities of the head, 2 arms, 2 legs underneath me, like a table, right? The head, the table, 2 arms, 2 legs is like the 5 pentagram, which is it's actually esoteric for pentagram, which is esoteric for Venus. When you understand this, you're creating languages. Unless people know these things, they don't know what you mean. When they hear a story, see a story, they're like, oh, that's entertainment. You're seeing all these actors and all this stuff that so we're Superman and Wonder Woman. This is all the same as ISIS. This is all the same of esoteric meaning as these stories that we've seen in the religious aspects or in cultural aspects. Same story. Notice they're really pushing the feminine aspect. And a lot of the feminine aspect that we're seeing that's even pushed in our reality is not really esoteric. It's more women acting more like man with toxic, and women do not make good men. They don't. Their powers and their femininity. So when you made women more, they think they're feminist. Really, they're actually toxic men, because their power is not in them being man. Their power was in their femininity, because that's powerful. And men don't make good femininity either. And not all man energy that's wholesome man energy would be, because both these energies are infused in you, in male or female. That would be esoterica. But notice this. Let's go down a little farther. The video is not very long. The Greek word esoterikos, which means inner, there we go. The eso is inner. Exo is outside yourself. They're gladly giving you exoteric, outside yourself, dogma, doctrines, and belief systems. So you consider to be outside yourself so you don't realize the truth's within you. George Carlin even used to say, there's a club and you're not in it. That man was a comedian telling the truth. I don't care how crude. Oh, he's crude. No, he's telling you the truth. I'll take the crudeness with the truth any day of the week. I will. Because he's funny as heck, but he's telling people the truth, right? The term comes from, as I said, means inner. The word was recorded in the 2nd century in a work by Lucien Samosata. The noun esoteric originated in the 19th century Western Europe, built, and this is where you get Western Europe. This is where you get Western philosophy, Western occultism, Western esoterica, Western Gnosticism, Western alchemy. And all these go back to Eastern, which I told you I'm going to get into Eastern. I found this awesome Chinese woman that teaches it and is a teacher, and I'm going to bring some of her videos. I actually sent her a message today. I actually sent her a message today because she's got outstanding videos, and I've been thinking for months of adding her because she's going into how the Tao and Buddhism and all these different ancient Chinese or Eastern Asians, Easter, in Asia, and they had esoterica, occultism, all that's in the magic, all that's just like we heard, that. So it was everywhere, and that will line up more than the division of exoteric, which always has a division with it. Even outside, the people get divided outside. The outsiders don't go to unity because it's impossible, because your inner is your connection of unity, not outside yourself. When I say that, doesn't mean not to go outside and connect, because you connect your inner with their inner. If you find those that's lucky enough to say, hey, I see what you see. Can I see what you see? Can you see? Always trying to find a rhythm, trying to get a good voice. The definition is entirely agreed upon because it's oneness. Hidden knowledge, right? Especially that found in secret societies. And we know the secret societies have got hijacked, but not all of them have. Not every lounge, even of the Freemason, I'm going to say this, and you're going to say it. Because if you think every Freemason knowledge was all, I don't think it's all either. Masonry does not have all the truth. It's hijacked by the elite, used not by the intended aspect of the other side of its usage to bring us into unity, but there's great knowledge. Not all these lodges you go to, the lodge in your town, you might go there and find out there ain't really no freaky stuff going on here, because some of that is just a lodge in your town and a guy decided to be a member. And I've seen it where the people go through even the rituals of the degrees, and they don't know that this is esoteric. They just do it because they want to fit in and create maybe their confinement of how they help each other in the city or the county that they're at. It's not all of it is. It's hijacked. Hijacked. And when it's hijacked, it's inverted. That's where we see the inversion of the pentagram. The pentagram straight up is man walking in his highest place. When it's inversions, that's where you get it looks like a goat horn. That's where you get the goat. It's not the goats are evil. They're not. Goats are animals. They're the best freaking high walk. You want to be able to walk on high places, you got to walk like a goat. They're great mountain climbers. They walk. That's why the goat from Christmas is a story about that sign that we see during that Christmas season, or the coming out, right? The goat walking up the hills of springtime when all things bloom again, because the goat's a great balance walker in high places. The goat's got great balance. Walking mountains, great. Envious in the physical, of course. Knowledge has been discarded or labeled heresy by the Orthodox. That the exoteric will label the esoteric knowledge as heretical, when really it's the opposite. It's really the opposite. We're inverted. We've been given an inverted reality. It's actually the opposite, right? It's the opposite. It really is. Exotericism can refer to exoteric beliefs or writings. Someone who practices exotericism or holds such a belief is called an exotericist. All us weirdos are that. Exotericism is about secret knowledge for a small group of people. Exotericism also describes mystical, spiritual, occultic points of view. Exotericism studies Gnosticism, yoga, alchemy, magic, spiritual, hypnosis, astrology, meditation. I love this, mysticism and occultisms. So I guess I need to add mysticism and occultism in with, definitely we did alchemy. Yoga, not so much we got into. I do some yoga. And I know what that yoga is deep because it gets into prana and energy releases by the better you are at it, right? What's the meaning? I don't know. The understood by inner circle. This is what it means here, right there. What is it? It goes, ultimately comes from Greek esoteric, meaning the inner indicates a state of condition, doctrine, or system. Esotericism involves things that can only be understood by an inner circle of people, such as those with depth knowledge of obscure subjects. Let's go to the very short video that we have on Esoterica. All right. And this will be an introduction into Western. It's only 11 minutes, 11 minutes, 40 seconds.
Have you ever been intrigued by mysterious, magical symbols in an old book? Legends of alchemists transforming nature using occult science, or mystical hidden visions of a supernatural world? Then you may be interested in one of the newest and most dynamic fields in scholarship, Western esotericism. In this video, we're going to introduce the field, explore how scholars disagree about just what it is, and talk a little bit about where you can study it more in depth. I'm Dr. Justin Sledge, and welcome to Esoterica, where we explore the arcane side of history, philosophy, and religion. We should say a little bit about what the field itself is. Broadly speaking, esotericism is the hidden inner dimension of religion, spirituality, and philosophy, and it covers a wide range of topics including alchemy, magic, theosophy, mysticism, secret societies, and more. It's a very exciting field for a few reasons. Number one, it's a completely new academic field, and it really only came into existence in the 1990s, so there is a ton of exciting research to be done. Number two, it's an inherently interdisciplinary field, which involves scholars of history, religion, science, language, literature, and more. Number three, it covers topics that are honestly just fascinating and mysterious. So what is Western esotericism? Well, it's complicated, and there's a lot of scholarly disagreement about it. I want to cover what I take to be three of the major approaches to the field itself. Before we get to those, I want to talk about what is sometimes called the insider approach, or the emic approach. This approach claims that there is, in fact, a hidden inner truth lying within philosophy, spirituality, and religion, dating back millennia and transmitted to the present. Sometimes this approach claims to have access to what is called a perennial philosophy, or a prisca theologia. That is, a fundamental, often mystical truth which unites philosophy, spirituality, and even science. This approach is taken by people who see themselves as part of a Western esoteric tradition. Overall, this position is considered non-academic, and there's serious scholarly doubts about just how much we can talk about there being an actual coherent esoteric tradition. For instance, many figures in the field are much more different than they are alike in their religious or philosophical understanding. Of course, this doesn't mean that one can be part of a mystical tradition and also do scholarly research. Of course, many people who are religious also are scholars of religion. It just means switching hats, so to speak, from the inner commitments of one's faith to the neutral academic constraints of scholarship as needed. That said, let's turn to our first academic method for the study of Western esotericism. This position argues that all esoteric philosophies or spiritualities actually share a set of similar unifying concepts or motifs. For instance, the pioneering French scholar Antoine Faivre argues there are 6 of these concepts. These include, number 1, correspondences, that there is a metaphysical link between all things in the cosmos. For instance, there's often a link made between the metal silver and the moon. 2, living nature. That is, that the cosmos is in fact alive rather than just being inert matter, as in many typical theories of physics. Number 3, imagination and mediations. That the imagination is actually an organ which perceives hidden reality, and that hidden reality contains hidden levels beyond this physical realm. Number 4, the experience of transmutation. That rather than being merely intellectual, Western esotericism aims for an inner transformation of the adherent through mystical or supernatural means. Number 5, the practice of concordance. That the various strands of esoteric philosophy and religion are actually unified by a deeper, more fundamental truth. For instance, the linking of Kabbalah, tarot, astrology into one mystical system. And lastly, number 6, transmission. That these truths can only be passed from generation to generation by specific modes. For instance, master-disciple relationships are being initiated into a secret society in which various grades of initiation reveal various secrets. The structural approach is great because it gives scholars clear parameters by which to delineate the field of Western esotericism. But this can also be perceived as a limitation. By drawing such a clear boundary, certain aspects of the field may be left out or underemphasized. A second approach is sometimes referred to as the religionist approach. This approach argues that in order to truly understand the figures, philosophies, and spiritualities of Western esotericism, we must study them on their own terms rather than contemporary, purely academic methods and categories. This position argues for a scholastic approach, but allows the texts, figures, and philosophies under study to lead the way rather than give full priority to contemporary academic tools and methods. For instance, the American scholar Arthur Veslous has argued that gnosis, a kind of super-rational understanding of fundamental reality, cannot be analyzed by a purely historical or empirical research program.
It can't. And that's what I was saying. When you're trying to fit something into something, and I could see where it has use. I definitely open-minded because I definitely see that, especially with academia, and when I know academia has been, what can I use the word, been ham-hocked to or hijacked. If you don't know that, I don't know what to tell you. That somebody having gnosis, which I feel I do, I can't prove that to you. But them who have it will know by what you are, what gnosis is and experiencing, because it's that inner knowing. That would be intuition. You can't prove intuition scientifically or academically, because that's only used, to me, I see that as they only can measure logic, which intuition just says, I'm in a different league you know not of, right? Because it's the other side, and then that's the left of brain. When logic and intuition marry, that's like one of the alchemical weddings that we talk about here, having logic and intuition now have harmonized as a wife and a husband, feminine and masculine. They're not in competition. They actually join into one, and they produce a children, which is called, and a child, and I'll say this and then we'll get to this, a child, and what do we call that child? We call the child discernment. How can you measure discernment unless you know experience discernment? See, we're getting to the place of the higher states where I can explain to you all day what it is, and you're going, okay. Until you experience it, you don't know. Until you get activated, your revelation and that within you that held intuition and all these other aspects get activated, then you'll know.
This approach has the advantage of providing sympathetic readings of texts and ideas that have been much maligned as superstition or evil in past centuries. A third approach may be called the historical critical approach, and understands Western esotericism as a result of historical, religious, and intellectual currents which are unified more by contemporary scholarship than by the figures being studied. This position argues that many of the figures and philosophies which comprise Western esotericism are the result of historical and cultural forces unknown to the very people creating them. Therefore, it's only possible to understand Western esotericism from the outside using the full scope of academic investigation. A more radical position holds that Western esotericism is entirely a construct of contemporary scholars and doesn't represent a historical or intellectual reality on its own terms. The division I've introduced is what makes the best sense to me, and I hope it's useful. Of course, scholars are still arguing about just what approach is best, and that's part of what makes the field so exciting. Here at Esoterica, I'm going to be a bit agnostic about these approaches, because I want to present figures, concepts, and ideas as sympathetically as I can, but at the same time, I want to remain within the best scholarship available. In a future video, I also want to take the time to explore each one of these approaches in detail. Stay tuned.
See, my question would be to somebody like him, what you experienced, buddy? I'm going to go right to that because I know he's presenting the different, but to me, it's a lot of jargon still. You want to go to the skull that's hijacked. And if they don't know, they don't know. And us that know, we've seen that over and over. And we can look at you. Do you see what I see? Yeah, I see it. That would be my only thing. I'm not against what he's saying. It's just that I wanted to send them to show you how this can work. That they can't put their finger on it. And if you can't put your finger on it, to some people it's not real. And I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but the different approaches, I could see an agnosticism and the other approaches where I see it is motherfucker. I don't want to go into cussing. People just don't know because they've never been knowers. They never had an experience. They never had the unseen experience that they will doubt because of their academia and their logic to go into really seeing it. This is where you guys that have walked in this and understand this experience at Patty, definitely James, Gene, anybody that's experienced revelation or knowledge that's not the mainstream, the reality, you understand that this is what keeps you balanced when the mainstream throws you poop on the wall all the time. You discern it. You just like, joke, it's a joke. You don't fall for the okie dokes. The bananas in the tailpipe don't work on us no more on some of us. Some of us fall for it every time, but usually they're unknowers.
For that. As you can see, even the concept of Western esotericism is pretty contentious, and that debate is far from over, and that's part of what makes the field so exciting. Well, what if you want to get into the field of studying Western esotericism academically? Can you just go to your university and take an Intro to Western Esotericism class? Well, there's good news and there's bad news.
No, you can't.
The bad news is that there are still very few places to study Western esotericism at the university level, and advanced degrees are only being offered in a handful of universities.
I'm not surprised because it's just what I said goes with it. It doesn't fit what's being taught scholarly because that's only one side, and that's hijack side, not open-minded side. Yeah, I'm going to cut out on that. I thought this was a little bit more, not just, oh, this is where it's come from. I wanted to know more about it, and I looked it up, and it really didn't bring it. I thought it was more, this is what you can do to get it. I mean, I don't look for scholarly stuff out for this. It's not. You're the scholar for it. I'm the scholar for it. We've experienced it. You could tell me that this is the best Italian restaurant over here on 12th Street. And you can tell me till you're blue in your face until I come and taste it and go, oh my God, this is delicious. I won't know until I taste it. So I'm going to kind of leave this one. I tried to give, I don't know. I'll stop there. Won't say much more about it. But anyways, I'll make sure I stop the share right. So all these disciplines, which interact with each other, not like the scientists at the academias, who are all compartmentalized, which we talked in other videos. I used to even take it worse of that. Now I understand they are learning something, but it's all compartmentalized. There's nothing connective in it. There's no unity in it. None. In any of our so-called systems, or whether it's any building or any organization, they have been raised to create division. Because this is the 3D reality of the system, is to keep you divided in a 3D reality, right? So when I see that, I really understand from the depth of this, that this is how this is. So I really don't, because I know what I know, right? So do you, many of you here. So don't fret, but this is where again, this was esoteric, took what I read, took whatever he said was good. He kind of went in the depth of all the scholarly and these assumptions. To me, all those are based on scholarly, and that's the last place I'll go for that. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it, because he said that you can't really learn it at the university. Why would I go for you? That's where these mystery schools in the past would have it. That's why there's a bunch of us running and jumping and teaching all over the world, different people, male, female, whomever, white, black, brown, it doesn't matter, are teaching it, because it's kind of been given to us as a whole and not just like one group of people, many of us being enlightened. But I like the balance of knowing these disciplines that I've talked about that are esoteric in nature, connected to whether it's Gnosticism, mysticism, alchemy. Many of these in the old academians, like I've said, brought out, who said, I'm an esoteric, Edward Casey, I'm an author, I'm a scientist, I do multiple disciplines because they're interconnected. The new, I'm this, but the piece of the pie that's right across, you're the piece of this pie, right across the 180 pole, which you should be in line with, as we've seen Hermetic law says that polarities are law. Actually, when you really start waking up, you're seeing all truth as half truth, because there's always another side to it. Always. And that's deep. That's going really deep. That's going into that 5D reality when you start realizing the paradoxy. When I took my duality and integrated it, it became a paradox. But you guys, this was Esoterica. We'll be getting into something new too. You guys have a great day.